Good evening, everybody. This is John and Rob with Co-Angler's Corner. Oh, what a day it's been.
Yeah, I was spending all day thinking it was Monday. I was all confused today.
Yeah, same here. So we have David Archibald from Eastern Massachusetts. We don't hold that against him, But hey, great guy. Very knowledgeable in the fishing industry. Professional athlete, professional paintballer. And Rob, you said he played cornhole a little bit.
Oh yeah, pro level. He's really good at it. But yeah, he's just about success on anything he gets into. So, I know he fished Toyotas last season. He's fishing Toyotas this season, and we both know how tough that field can be. So, hats off to him.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Well, we'll bring him on right now and let him talk a little bit about himself, and we'll go from there.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing great, man.
I got to correct you on the cornhole at a professional level. No.
You're pretty good, man. You're a lot better than I am.
I'm okay. But
that's okay.
A long way to go there.
That's all right.
I'm better at fishing than cornhole.
Hey, what's that? You got to do something in the off season, so that's all right. Good.
Off season? I don't even think there is one.
No, not if you want to be a professional athlete.
No. So,
all right.
So you want to tell me about myself? So, as you guys already mentioned, I'm quite the competitor. I was a professional extreme sports athlete for 30 some odd years. Playing professional paintball, traveling all over and all that. Was very successful, won a lot. And but what people didn't know, and people in my sport, they didn't know that I never wanted to do that. I just got good at it. But when I was a little kid, I always wanted to be on the Pro Bass Tour. And then that I fell into that at a very young age, and I was really good. So that kind of took me away from tournament bass fishing. And it wasn't till, 10 years ago, I really started thinking like, I still want to be able to do that, again and all that. And I always joke around, it's going to be my retirement sport. I'm just going to join the Pro Bass Tour is what I would tell people, I can be kind of cocky and stuff like that, type of stuff. But I had a neck injury, and it was a major neck injury, and it was being nursed for 10 years just to keep me competing. And I finally had to get the surgery at the end of 2020, which was the COVID year. And I wasn't really working for obvious reasons too. But I was fishing every day, literally fishing. I had nothing else to do. So I was fishing every day, and I realized I'm like, I still got it. And then I was doing all these online tournaments were popping up because of COVID, and I was competing against people catching Florida strain bass and stuff like that. And I was always on like the top of the field, and like a lot of top 10s and top 5s, a few top 3s. I'm like, I'm doing okay. So I sat down with my wife, and I'm like, how I always joked about, doing the fishing thing again. And she's like, yeah. I go, maybe I should do it sooner. And like, what do you got to do? I'm like, I need to talk to people. I need some sponsors and all that stuff. And being a sponsored athlete for so many years, I was like, I had that to my advantage. So I threw it out there, and I got some really good responses. I don't get a lot of money or anything like that, but I get help, and a lot of it was because of my backstory and, knowing how to be a sponsored athlete. And, I had the neck surgery, and the doctor said I'd be able to be on a bass boat. I don't think he's ever been on a bass boat to know how rough it could be, but he gave an EOK. And I fished the Toyota Series, my first full year on the Toyota Series, 2021, and I made it to the championship. My
awesome,
first
man.
year.
That's huge.
My first event was Champlain, and I almost won it.
Wow.
And I've been, and it's, and now here I am now, so talking to you guys and, trying to get better and better every day, doing my studying, all that stuff,
Yeah, it's definitely a process, man, for sure.
And then, and hopefully my kids will, kind of jump on board with it too. I got a 5 and a 7-year-old, and my wife, Leah, and all that. So I'm trying to get them all embracing the whole fishing thing.
Oh yeah. What's amazing, like back when me and John was in school, you could never dream about high school fishing and even junior high fishing, and now it's boom.
It didn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wish they had that now. I'm like, oh my God, my life could be a lot different.
Yeah. I mean, my buddy talks about that. we'd have been at school every day. We've been chomping at the bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. So I saw you took a little hiatus. That was during your paintball years, and then you came back in 2020. That's actually the year I came back as well, and I fished that Champlain event with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
love that place.
Actually, I do too. Actually, the Champlain event was the first time I picked up a fishing rod in over 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Dang.
My first cast was the first day of that tournament.
Oh, wow.
No pressure
that
there.
tells you anything.
That's what you call winging it.
Oh, I really did. Yeah, a good friend of the show's on here, Rick Amato.
I know Rick.
Yep.
Yeah, Rick's awesome, man.
He says,
he's
"Hey,
here every
David,
night.
guys."
We're on.
Hey, buddy, how are you? Yeah, I know Rick. We share a good friend, Steve Aldridge, up by St. Lawrence River.
Who's that?
Steve Aldridge.
Yep. And then your buddy says, "Hey, buddy, Fluffy Demon."
Fluffy Demon. Who is Fluffy Demon? I don't know who that is.
I mean, two of us.
I don't know. Might be Rob's buddy. He's down south.
Yeah. If it is, I don't recognize him.
Yeah.
I
That's
ain't tell
okay.
him, but howdy, whoever
no.
it is.
So back to fishing. You're getting ready to head down to Florida.
Yes, I am. First Toyota Series event of the year down at Lake Okeechobee out of Clewiston.
Now, have you ever fished that body of water before?
Never. I've never fished in Florida. I mean, so I generally fished a Central Division to start my year, but with the state of how the fishing is being conducted on the water with forward facing sonar and all that stuff, it's like I need to maximize my potential at the events. And with Okeechobee being a shallow lake, you can cover more water. It's different than fishing like Lewis Smith Lake in Alabama, where there's a lot of deep water, a lot of deep clear water fishing. So it can be, depending on who you're with, that can be tough. So I wanted to start out the year really good. Plus, the whole reason why I'm being a coal angler too is to go and spend time on different bodies of water, just to get different perspectives and all that. And the one thing I have to my advantage is I have good practice partners. Like I actually go down there, I spend a week. I approach it kind of like a boater as well, and work together. Hey, Ken, we work together and come up with what the best possible plan is, and I approach it meticulously. So when that tournament day comes, I'm prepared, and that's what everyone, being prepared is the most important thing in being a coal angler. Because if you just kind of go out there and you wing it with, okay, I brought 6 rods and a whole bag full of baits and all that, and I'll see how it goes. And a lot of coal anglers do that. They spend half the time tying knots, and they'll stop at a spot and oh, I should throw this. Let me tie this knot. And the boat is like, oh, we're leaving. It's you didn't even throw a cast in. So it's my goal is to tie the least amount of knots possible per day.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But that's the reason why I'm going with this Southern Division to start with with Okeechobee, because it's shallow water. You can do a lot more being in the back of the boat than, say, a deep water lake, where the boater's completely relying on forward facing sonar.
Yeah, a lot more productive water in the back of the boat in those situations for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And the second event is Harris Chain, and then the third event, which isn't until later in the year, is Santa Cooper, which is the cypress trees and a lot of shallow water to fish there too. in that time of year, they're still going to be shallow. So, it makes it for a better play, where when I come up to the Northern Division, then, we get Champlain, which is my favorite lake in the world, and St. Lawrence River, which those I automatically generally do well under most circumstances. And then you got Potomac, which is another shallow water fishery. So I think it gives me a better 6 tournament lineup this year and much better chance to get back to the championship.
Yeah, I fished that Smith Lake in Alabama. Second day, had a young kid. He live scoped like 150, 200 foot of water, and he had the trolling motor like on 9 doing this. And I was like, I'd sling a Carolina rig out toward the shore is what all I could do, But,
yeah,
it is. It makes for a long day, but
yeah, there's a lot
of Dave, he's throwing out all the secrets, isn't he? You're not supposed to mention that rig.
Well,
hey, that's the only thing I knew how to throw out that long.
In my opinion, if someone's zigzagging and they're on 9,
yep,
I'm probably not throwing a Carolina rig.
Yep.
Yeah, just because, you with a Carolina rig, you still have to have some state of control. And if they're literally chasing fish, all it takes is him to take a 90-degree turn, like he might be going back to your line, So,
oh yeah.
So yeah, that can be tough. And there are a lot of the younger guys out there that are competing on the boater side. They do fish like that. It's all just chasing the fish, what they see on the screen, and it can be very difficult to fish behind them. And but the good question that you got to ask before you get on the boat or the night before is ask them if they fish that way.
Yeah,
because that changes everything on on how you have to approach it.
Yep.
And that's one thing I tell everyone: do not be afraid to ask the boater questions. Now, a lot of boaters would be like, do a little bit of everything. I'll say, hear me out.
Yep.
And I go, I got 5, 6, 7 rods, depending on what series you're fishing in, that I have to choose from. I got to be efficient. I go, I just want to be productive and not be in the way. And if you can just tell me like what you're going to be, like, don't have to tell me where, but like deep water, shallow water, give me like the 3-4 things that you're going to be doing, and then I'm good, and then I go from there.
Slow or fast. I always ask mine slow or fast, and that kind of helps me prepare and pack. So,
and we have a question from Ken. He says, do you all use speed clips on your lines?
Never have. Have you guys?
I have on crankbaits before when I'm trying to find out what color. I'll go to crankbaits.
Oh yeah, that correction.
Norman speed clip.
When I fish like Gunnersville, we're doing a lot of like lipless grass, lipless baits. I'll use speed clips on that.
Yep,
definitely. That's a one time I have.
Yeah, and it does help. It does help.
It does, because it's, but generally by the time tournament day goes around, I got it narrowed down to 2 colors or something, or 2 weights or whatever. Again, that's the benefit of practicing.
Yeah,
correct. Now here's a little tidbit with a speed clip. Try it on your walking bait instead of tying directly to, because it adds that extra joint in there and it gives it more action. All right, and Bridget Allen says, good luck with the fishing the Toyotas, Dave. Really like their northern schedule this year versus the Bassmaster EQs.
Completely agree.
I do too. I think Bassmaster had a little, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Not going to New York.
I think they just had a brain fart.
Yeah, they're not coming nowhere near close to Tennessee or Kentucky either. So
rightfully so. I mean, how can you skip New York?
I mean, a lot. It affected a lot of people's schedules this year on if they were even going to do some of the Bass Opens, because then it's a totally different direction. I mean, granted, they needed to help out the Midwest a little bit because the Midwest for a number of years kind of got screwed. And it does help them, so you got to look at it that way too. But, for people like you think you're going to have at least a St. Lawrence River or a Champlain every year, that's just Disneyland, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
big time.
I agree with you. No, I'm only picking on you, Rob. I wouldn't mind fishing down in Kentucky a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, my closest big lake's Cumberland. And it's getting a really good smallmouth. I mean, we got Dale Hollow pretty close to me, but it's got a weird slot limit.
I like Dale Hollow.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
I like that lake. Love that lake.
And if you ever get a chance to, like Douglas, and especially Douglas, you can look out and see Smoky Mountains in the background. It's really pretty sweet.
Yeah, I actually filmed a show on there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
I love Sean says he needs love too. Out in the Midwest.
Sean's my boy. He's one funny bastard.
It's okay. That's all right.
If you ever look on his Facebook page, he's done these videos. I mean, the like fake infomercials. Oh my god, it's funny. Sean's a good dude. Good dude. I actually met him doing a Toyota series.
Cool.
Down in we were in Tennessee, Alabama, the first one. Oh no, I think it was Gunnersville.
Yep, Gunnersville.
Yeah.
Is that where they had like the 325 boats and we sitting there in the fog delay?
Oh, that was horrible.
Yeah. I was there.
Oh, I like that place. It just, for some reason, like last year, I had a fantastic practice. I'm like, I'm good. And then they canceled the first day because of storms that were 100 miles away. Yep. And I was like, no, I'm like, this is going to be the best day ever. And it was the perfect, like, everything would have been perfect. Like everyone was going to catch 20 pounds. That's what I was thinking. And then they canceled the first day. And then I just had a bad tournament. I'm like, oh my God. Cause those storms came through after and just ruined the whole fishing.
That's funny. The guy that won it, I fished with him like the month before at Chickamauga, and his pedal was out on his trolling motor. So he had the little remote and that's all he had. And he still won it.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. He's a good guy too. I was happy for him.
Yeah, Bridget's favorite place to fish is Gunnersville.
Yeah, I like it. It's not my favorite, but I like it. And it was tough making the change from the Central Division to the Southern, because Gunnersville, even though I haven't done well there, I think it's a very co-angler friendly fishery.
Oh yeah, yes. Definitely.
Especially in February.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's some giants in there. I had my boater day one. I think he had like 24 pounds, and I was behind him. I think I still caught 8 something, and I got lucky. And even at the end of the day, he's like, "Well, man, I missed a couple fish here." He like run the trolling motor, didn't fish, let me fish the last few minutes of the day. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's cool.
And he couldn't upgrade, so that's cool.
Yeah, it's good to get guys like that every now and then.
Oh yeah, it is, man. There's some great guys out there.
Yep.
So when things are going tough for you, I mean, you're a fisherman, they eventually go tough. What is your one thing that you do to try to stay mentally sharp outside of throw a big weight at your boater?
Well, if it gets tough and like I feel myself wavering,
right,
I will catch myself and I throw out a cast and I just go through what the motions like mentally, like, okay, watch your speed, do the twirl. Like I kind of bring myself back, and you have to do that. You have to be strong mentally, because 8 hours can go by really quick, or it could be very painful. And you just have to recognize yourself and just say, you stop, you breathe, throw the cast, mentally go through the motions, bring it back, and start analyzing. You always have to be analyzing in this sport. It's not like regular sports. Like, okay, you got a game plan, you go execute it, and all that. With fishing, it's always changing.
Yeah, right. Conditions constantly changing.
Like technically, my Okeechobee tournament started this week. Because I got my studying I'm doing. I'm paying attention to what's going on with weather down there, all that stuff, and then when I get down there, I already know my bag's going to be packed for certain things on day one of practice. And then as I'm doing, I'm like, okay, I'm going to make subtle changes. Like you're always adapting. Then when you get off the water, you're retiring. Okay, I'm going to do this now and do this. And you're laying in bed, you're thinking like, it's just, you're constantly adapting and And some people think, oh, fishing is, quiet and all that. I'm telling you,
it's a moving puzzle. You're putting a puzzle together and it's moving.
Yeah. It's like, I'll go to, a 5-day event, destroying my body every single day. And, I'll come home 2 days later, I feel fine. My wife says when I go away to a fishing tournament, I'm completely useless for a whole week because I turn into a zombie because my brain is fried because it's always working. So it's crazy. So you got to keep yourself mentally involved and just understand it's a process, and you got to have a few principles too, because when you're fishing on the back of the boat too, and this is people who are co-angling now, or any of you out there that are thinking about being a co-angler, you better understand that you have no control. Yep. Like it's like, and I'm a control freak. Yep. So it can be tough, and you just have to like come to grips that you don't have control. So you start there. Now you can work.
Yep.
And then you go from there, and then that'll help you start thinking ahead of how you're going to prepare and plan and all that stuff. Yeah.
Kyle says, just let the bait sit there and soak a little water.
Hey, sometimes if you got a slow boat, or sometimes dead sticking something, or, it'll work depending on the time of year.
Oh yeah, I've had it happen in Del Hollow. One time I was flipping a jig in this little bitty creek, I had a professional overrun, a loop in my reel, and I was pulling it out. Cranked it up, and there's a 3-pounder on there. If you like shake the jig, they wouldn't hit it, but you dead stick it. So I caught a 5.6 and had 3 fish that day. Finished 5th and a big bass. So
yeah, I did Dale Hollow event, and it was cold. It was raw. I think it's
it always is.
It snowed when I was there, and I was like dead sticking a shaky head.
Yep.
And that's how again, just like maybe a little twitch, but really kept it still. And I shorter bait, 4-inch max, and that's how I was getting them. So it's like it's always, if they're not biting them, twitching, let them sit. So Kyle's saying let the bait sit there. Yeah, sometimes that's what you do have to do.
Yeah, Ohio River guy. I know there's some old Ohio River guys. And you can like launch out in the morning, they're fishing this lay down, come back in the afternoon, they're fishing the same lay down with a jig.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Rick's giving some friendly advice right now.
Yeah, Rick. It better not be cold down there, because every time I go south, a snow cloud follows me. And well, literally, it wasn't last year, the year before, going to Gunnersville, I was driving down there, and it snowed the whole entire. It didn't like snow, but it was flakes in the air the whole entire drive. And I'm like looking up in the sky, up my sunroof. I go, is there a cloud following me? And then my first day of practice, it was like 33 degrees. It snowed the whole day on Gunnersville. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And then I go to Pickwick for a BFL, just for a warm-up tournament. And it was a delay because the ramp was frozen. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, I'm from Massachusetts, and I'm 1,400 miles south. I'm like, why is this happening? So Rick, warm it up.
Put the heater on. Put the heater on.
All right. Not seeing any other questions rolling right now. All right.
Yeah,
so
ask away, guys.
Yeah. So you're prepared to go to Florida, so you're going to be gone a week, a little over a week, with travel and stuff like that. How do you get yourself ready for that? I mean, not just practicing and the mental aspect of it, but how do you decide what to bring to Florida, or you just bring everything?
No. Well, and this is actually my first tournament where I'm actually flying down. I sent my rods down to my practice buddy, and my rods are going to meet me down there, and I'm bringing everything. I'm bringing everything else on the plane with me. So I'm bringing a lot less than I normally do. And this is the lake that you can do that on. Like, you don't need as much as like you would like Champlain, where you could have 10 different like scenarios at Champlain. You can be going to Missisquoi, you can be going to Ticonderoga, you can be doing inland sea, you can be doing shallow, you can be doing deep. I'm like, I mean, there's so many. You can go up in some of the creeks. I mean, there's so many different things you can do on a lake like that. But Okeechobee, it's all shallow water, so it's like, you know, your baits are minimized. But I do a lot of studying. I utilize YouTube. Yep. I really do, and I'll search fishing Lake Okeechobee in January. Fishing Lake Okeechobee, like, so the tournament's at the end of January. So I'm looking at how people catch fish at the end of December through the month of January and the early part of February. And I just look at a lot of commonalities, and then I'll see what they're doing. And I'll think of like maybe some other baits that they're not showing that can be based on how they're fishing could be effective. So that's how I put my gear together to go, not necessarily to go on the boat, but to bring it with me. And, you know, that's how I choose, you know, what I'm bringing. Like, I'm not bringing any, you know, deep water crankbaits or anything like that, you know, and not really going to be doing any Ned fishing, you know, or anything like that, you know. So it's like, it's, you know, it's studying, you know, the tournament, you know, like I said, the tournament started this week. If you put that in account, the tournament started a month ago for me. You know, because I'm studying, I'm taking the time, I'm asking questions, I'm talking to my buddies that are on the pro tour that fish down there. You know, people, you know, give me, and other people that fish down there or live down there that have given me tips, and I just process it all, and I say, okay, what's going to work for me? You know, you can't take every tip because then you're going to be out there like, what am I going to do? But you just got to process it before I even get down there. You know, so it's like I'm almost there now of what I'm pretty much going to be doing, but I'm still fine tuning that, you know, choosing what colors, you know, I'm not bringing a ton of different colors either. You know, I'm narrowing it down, and, you know, if there's something does drastically change, I'll hit a bait shop. You know, it's like, but, you know, I just gotta be very meticulous, because if you just like fly by the seat of your pants and you bring everything, you're not going to be able to focus. You're just going to be like, what am I going to do here? What am I going to do here? Like, I already have my boat bag for day one of practice almost all set. You know, I just got a couple of baits I got that are coming in, you know, hopefully this week, and just add that to the bag, you know. And so it's like, you just, you know, if you want to be good at this, and you want to compete, and you want to overcome all the challenges that come with being a co-angler, you have to do this stuff. Yeah, you have to do this stuff. You got to watch podcasts like we're on right now. You know, just to listen. You know, this is the only one I know that is dedicated to co-anglers. So this will be a great resource for people. It will be a resource for me. I'll learn something from, you know, some of the other guys. I mean, you guys get some good guys coming on after me. You know, like I know in a few days, my good friend Mike Mueller, who's a very educated angler, you know, and I'm looking forward just to listen to what he has to say, you know, because I know he's real good, you know.
Oh, yeah, consistent. You know? That guy's consistent.
Yeah, Mike's a good dude.
Yep. Thank you. All right, for everybody out here, if you have any questions for Dave, don't be afraid to just type them in everything. You know, we want to make sure we get everybody's questions or comments answered. Rob, do you have anything you want to ask him off the top of your head?
Well, I was gonna say Rick Amato, he chimed in and says you only need 4 to 5 baits here. That's pretty good. But yeah, you're right on Florida. Like I said, I went down to Toho a couple years back, and I think it's into January, and great weather. It's like 80s, sunny. It was totally different. It's like 20s here in Kentucky, and but you'll have fun. It's gonna be I didn't get to fish Okeechobee yet, but I fished Toho, and it was a blast.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be completely new for me, and you know, it's I actually feel good. I mean, I'm not ever being there, still haven't even seen it physically, and I'm already feeling pretty confident. So you know, but you know, I set myself up for success, you know, and that's, you know. Again, if you want to be good at it, it's what you got to do. It's like
you put the work in. Yep.
You got to. It's like, you know, because It's like, I don't want to be a coal angler forever. I already have a boater mentality. It's like, but this is a good opportunity to, where I live, I don't have big water. I'm in Eastern Massachusetts. The biggest lake around here can only hold a 20 boat tournament, and it's like, so it's like, I'm getting a lot of exposure and just without having to drive. Just there's the benefit about being a coal angler with practice. You get to sit back and really look, and, so I want to be on the boater side. So I'm using this opportunity this is part of my work towards that. Yeah, I'm there to win the tournament. Anytime I step on get on a boat on the water, I'm there to win. I'm ultra competitive. And, but at the same time, it's part of the long journey too.
You're gaining experience and learning the whole time. So that's,
and it's like, on my YouTube channel, I have a couple of videos on, how to be a coal angler. Like I mentioned earlier, the first thing you have to understand is you have no control. But after that, you gotta really learn and be willing to adapt. You have to be prepared, because if you again, you just choose any 6 rods and, just a bunch of baits, you're going to be on the boat tying knots all day because, like I said, how many times you stop? All right. It's like you stop somewhere and like, oh, I need this bait. I don't have it tied on. And by the time you finish tying on, it's like, oh, we're out of here. And now you go to somewhere else. Now you need that same rod. Now you have to tie another bait on that same rod. And it's like, you barely ever fish. And like, so, you got to study. You got to find a practice partner. If you're going to be good at this, you got to find a practice partner. And it's like, I hear all the time, it's like, oh, I ask buddies of mine, it's like, oh, you're going to be practice. Like, it's like, I don't have control of the boat anyways. So I'm just going to, just fish. And I'm like, their chance of doing well is pretty slim. Not saying it doesn't happen, but you decrease your odds approaching it that way. And if you have bigger goals, you're not going to achieve them. You have to, if you want to be a boater, you better approach everything you do like you are a boater,
Correct.
even if you're on a coal angler side. And, that's what I try to do. And also when you're at practice with somebody and you spend a week with them and all that, you kind of go through the trials with them that they're having, I know how to replace a lower unit now. I can rebuild a trolling motor, because one of my practice partners, for some reason, he breaks everything when I'm with him. So,
I know some guys like it.
So, it's like, I don't even know how he gets his boat to the tour events. It's like, it's always broken. And, but you learn so much. You learn the grind, and you learn about what it really is, about putting in the work and all that. And, and there's a big mental side to it. It's not for everybody, it really isn't.
Yeah. And Bridget asked, what's your best learning experience from your boater? Or from a boater, I should say.
Best learning experience, it's not the fishing itself. It's probably learning how they approach their day. How they approach their time management on, from going spot to spot, and just the whole responsibility of being a boater too, because you got someone else in the boat with you. It's like, you got to be a pretty responsible individual. And by watching these boaters out there, you really pick up a lot of things that you're going to take with you, like for like when I become a boater, that you don't think about. But it's really like I learn a lot from their approach and how they manage their day. I think that's really important to be successful in tournament bass fishing as a boater. You better learn how to manage your day and how to use your electronics for time management. Like, okay, I can fish this spot till 2:38 and I have to leave and I have with 30 seconds to spare. It's like, that stuff is amazing to me. And like, I started seeing that. I was doing a St. Lawrence event my first year in the Toyota series, and I saw that my boater was doing that, and I was like, my God, that is, you master that, you can really maximize everything. So for me, that's like the biggest thing, biggest learning experience. And but I do pick up a lot of good fishing tips too from my boaters, especially if you get a good boater, that's going to talk to you and all that stuff. Like, I don't know if you ever heard of Mikey Kiso. He's a Florida boy. I drew him on a Toyota Series when we were both in the championships, and gave me a frogging tip that I never really used before, and it worked. I think that was like,
is that tip called "Don't tie one on"?
No, it was the thing to do. We almost gave up. He asked me like, "What do you think?" I go, "I think we should keep doing this." And after that day, he was number 2 or number 1 and number 2 going into the final day. I think he was really good.
Cool.
We do have another question for you. I want you to think about this question before you answer it, because he's asking for baits, not techniques.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say it right now, Kyle. The best 3 baits are the ones I'm not using. Kyle knows I love Champlain too. I mean,
yeah.
Champlain is, it's, what isn't a secret, is like a spy bait, a drop shot, a swim bait. Like I use a Tennessee Lunker Company Lunker Shad as a swim bait on a weighted hook, stuff like that. That's, all that stuff's gonna work for you, and it all depends really on Champlain depends on what you get for a boater too.
100% there. Now I found Champlain, like I'm mainly in the Northeast. I'll go to like Douglas Lake, Potomac.
Yep.
And Champlain is more boater dependent than any place I've ever fished, including Thousand Islands.
Yeah, and if you can learn to be successful on the back of the boat by dealing with all the different types of boaters you can get on Champlain, you'll do good everywhere. That's what how I feel. And it's not going to work every time. There are some boaters that are statistically the worst boaters for co-anglers. And they'll tell you that too. I bet I was on the cut above the cut line last year at Champlain. I had a young kid. He made the cut, and he was an avid live scoper, but he wasn't crazy fast. So I was able to pick and dink and dunk and all that, and I got 15 pounds, which was good for the conditions. Yes, you weren't getting me on that, Kyle. But considering the conditions I was fishing under, I couldn't really ask for anything better. But then on the second day, I drew Drew Gill. Now, Drew Gill, he's on the Pro Tour, and he was actually friends with my boater on day one. And when I got my thing, he's like, "Oh, who'd you get?" I go, "Drew Gill." He's like, "Oh man." I'm like, he's like, "What?" He's like, "You have a fish with him?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Nobody catches fish with him." And I was like, "Really?" And I'm like, and he's like, I go, "You think I'm fast?" He's like, "He's bad." It's like impossible. Like no one catches fish. I'm like, "I'm going to catch a fish." And then I talked to Drew, and Drew said he apologized to me right up front. He's like, "Just the way I fish, I got to fish my way," which he's right. He's like, he can't fish to my liking. I mean, as much as I like it, he can't. But he told me in 20 Toyota Series events, he had 5 anglers catch a fish.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa. And I go, well, I'm going to be number 6.
Yep.
And I found a way, and there's a lot of things. And not like that. That's the one thing I can get into right now is like, what do you do in a certain situation like that? So this was on I'll just share my Drew Gill Champlain story here, and where he was fish. He went out deep inland sea area, 40 feet of water. And this guy is fast, the fastest I've ever been. I mean, he's like, the only other one as fast as that is Alec Morrison, who is a young up and coming guy who's he just made it to the invitationals, I believe, too. But he was fast. He's going left, going right. I'm throwing everything, and I'm like, my God. I'm like, okay, what do I got to do? And like and I see people on Facebook and all like, how do you get on that? It's like, well, if you understand the water you're in, again, comes back to study the lake that you're going to be on. If you at least have understanding of what you're on top of, you can adjust. And the one thing I do in that situation, I talk to you have to talk to your boater. Have a two-way conversation. Break the ice early. When you're getting a boat. If you know your way around a boat, tell him. Say, listen, I'm here. Don't have to worry. I'm not. I tell him, I'm not an idiot most of the time. You break the ice, and then you just talk, and then as you get out there and you see he's fast, I'll be like, hey Drew, you mind if I because as a co-angler, you're supposed to cast 90 degrees out and back, but when you're going that fast, if you're doing that, your bait will never drop. Yep. So I asked, Drew, I go, do you mind if I cast up on an angle just to allow my bait to drop because you're moving so fast? And 9 times out of 10, the boater is going to say yes. And Drew is cool. He's like, absolutely. He's like, I'm going after specific fish. He's like, you're not going to be in my way. So I would do that. I'd flip up so by the time I'm at 90 degrees, my bait is at the bottom. And, in that situation, 40 feet of water, you got to double your weight. If you drop shot and you got to double your weight. If you're doing a weighted swim bait, you got to double your weight. Yeah. Everything you do, you got to double, and you got to get that weight down there. And that helped me get bites. The other thing too, if you come in a situation, I always say when you're a co-angler, you better have something that you can bomb a mile. Because if there's something that you see off in the distance, like it's a little shoal or you can reach the land where there's a drop off or anything like that. If you get in your casting range to do something like that, you just do it. And that's how I caught fish with Drew. We were on the northern side of the lake, and he was fishing about 20, 30 feet of water, but it came up quick, and but it was real far away. And I had to spook that I could cast a mile, and I cast that thing as far as I can. I got it right above the ledge, and boom, 3-pounder. It's like, wow. And so that's like a one tip. If you're with someone with forward facing sonar, always have something that you can bomb a mile of a bait that works on that fishery too. Because like say down to Okeechobee, someone goes out in more open water, and you don't really know what to cast at. You see one blade of grass, sticking out like a country mile away. I'm going to cast towards that blade of grass. That could be a clump underneath. Yep. Especially if a body of water had a lot of rain, that might be some good structure under there. And you just throw in that direction. And if there's a fish there, you have a real good chance of getting that. So it's like, so don't keep your focus on right around the boat, because if there's something you can reach, go for it. And I don't know how many times I catch fish that way. It happened on Pickwick during the championships on day one. We were up towards the dam on Pickwick, and there's a boat ramp. And then I saw it was like a little cove on the other side of this boat ramp. And I saw grass. I'm like, well, I can throw my bladed jig a country mile. And I threw it way over there and caught a 2.5-pounder. It's like, and that's nothing, had nothing to do with the water where the boater was fishing. He was like, I'm like, fish. He's like, he looked back. He's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, way out here. And it's like, so you gotta broaden, your vision wide when you're a co-angler, because you're not going after what that boater is looking at with a live scope forward facing sonar. So, you talk to him, Kyle, obviously Kyle, always asks about the 45-degree angle too. And I actually learned that from one of the guys on the tour. when you're like when you fish in a bank and you just going along a bank or like a riprap or what that. He said, you should always, no matter what, cast at a 45-degree angle, because if you don't and you get caught up, you're losing that lure and that boat is not stopping.
Yeah.
That's where it originally the idea came from for me about with the drop shot, with someone doing forward facing sonar is always true to 45-degree angle. Because if you're throwing 90 degrees on riprap, cast, bye-bye, cast, bye-bye, you're screwed.
So Barking Rulers wants to know, what's the one piece of equipment that boaters have had on board that absolutely come in handy?
Besides the brain.
Now, keep in mind, it depends on the series, because some people will say a net. Just in the open, you can't have a net.
Yeah, it's like, well, I'm thinking this goes back to Drew Gill too. Cutters. We had to cut a hook to feed it through the rest of my finger.
Ouch.
Yeah, and it's funny because we just did a video tonight, and Kyle was there too. Kyle, who's on us with us now, he called me up. He's like, "Have you ever done the braid trick?" And I'm like, "No." I go, "But my buddy has." So he drove to us, and we actually have it on film where we removed a treble hook, a hook from his finger that got lodged in there. And I was like, I've never had that ever happen and all that. And that fish that I bombed and caught that 3-pounder with Drew, he left a spy bait in his net. And when I went to get the fish out of the net, the fish jolted, and I double trebled the hand, like this finger right here, and both were in. And I was like, and I'm like, Drew, you ever do it before? He's like, no. And it's like, I know how it's supposed to do it. I'm like, well, here we go, because I am not quitting. And I was like passing out. It was really bad. And he's like, well, how are we going to do 2? And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to suck it up. I go, cut this one and just do this one. It's like, what are you going to do with the other? I go, I'll worry about that after. Yep. And he did it, and it worked. And I fed the other one all the way through my finger. And I'm like, okay, back fishing.
Yep.
So I got to say the cutters have been the most important piece of equipment that has come in handy, besides a brain with common sense, because you are on the water.
Yeah, I had that happen at South Holston, a BFL. My best friend is like 4:35 in the morning, and I'm still asleep. And I hear, hey, you guys know the braid trick? And I guess he grabbed his rods out of my buddy's boat, and he had 2 trebles go in. And it was pitch black, and we got it out there.
Anytime I look at a spy bait, PTSD like kicks in now. It's like when I touch one, I'm like, eh.
All right, one last question, Dave. What length rod do you use when throwing a crankbait?
So, being a co-angler, I generally am a little shorter than I normally would be as a boater, just because rod management, space management, all that. And I'll have two, depending on what type of crankbait I'm throwing. It's either 7.71 or like a 7.2 to 7.4. I'll have a varying of the two depending on what I'm doing. And, and that could vary between, also if I'm doing medium or medium heavy, if I'm doing a 1/4 ounce lipless versus a 3/4 ounce lipless, or if I'm doing deep crank indoor or square bill, but generally, co-angler, you can use really anything between a 7 and 7.4 effectively. It's like, the thing is, you get the longer rods in the back of the boat, and it just, things can get in the way, tips can get in the way, get up to dock. It's like, so I try to keep it simple. And I don't even have a rod as a co-angler that's over a 7.4. So from a co-angler side, you can get away anywhere between a 7 foot to a 7.4. Just make sure, I like a composite rod, a moderate composite rod. Those are my favorite. I think they're very versatile, where being a co-angler, again, versatility, you only can have 6 in a major league fishing. You can do 7 rods, but you're limited in what type of rod. So with the composite rod, you can use that composite rod for more than just a crankbait. You can use it for a bladed jig, and use it for a swim bait, a spinner bait, whatnot. Because if you just have a glass rod, I don't feel you have that same versatility for multiple array of baits. So, from as we're talking co-angler stuff here, that I would go with a composite between a 7-foot and a 7.4.
And you notice too, the shorter rods, you can get a lot more accurate with them, especially around docks. You can just roll cast.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. Quick little roll cast. And absolutely. I totally agree on that. And, again, it's just, you got to be versatile. You got to be able to adapt quick and just have your equipment. When I get on a boat on tournament day, my goal is not having to tie a new bait on unless it's something that I lost or something like that. It's like, I want to be as efficient as possible, so, and I look at the fishery, I'm like, okay, what is it, and I divide the categories of baits, what am I going to use? How many different baits could I use at a moderate action, and that's how I choose my rods too, so.
We're at the point where we like to let you talk a little bit about your sponsors and the people you represent. We got about 8 minutes left in the program, so if you want to talk about them for a little bit.
Yeah, and I'll answer Kyle's question real quick. Kyle, in Major League Fishing, the limit is 7.
Yeah, you want to know how many rods he could actually carry in the BFLs and Toyotas.
Yeah, it's 7.
Yeah.
So as far as my sponsors, I have a few. Tennessee Lunker Company. They handle a lot of my soft plastic baits, jigs, bladed jigs, where they have a phenomenal bladed jig at like half the cost of a jackhammer, and the thing pulses. It really thumps. And they have fantastic swim jigs and spinner baits as well. And I've been with them since, I gotta say, they've been with me. They really, we kind of came up together, a new company. And when I got started, and they kind of took a chance on me, and it's been a great relationship. Same with Daiichi Hooks with the TTI Blakemore family. Great hooks. They also have the Pro X hooks that were designed by Ronnie Howell. The great hooks as well. They've been with me from the very, very beginning of my journey. P-Line for my line. If you haven't used P-Line line, they have all different types of line, all different types of fluorocarbon, copolymers, all that stuff. And people that still use the mono, they have a lot of variations of mono as well. I also have Liquid Mayhem. I use that for my scent for all my baits. Works fantastic, lasts a long time. You don't have to apply it every 5th cast. You can go 30 casts without having to reapply. I Woo Tungsten for my weights. Sublime for apparel. It's great hoodies, jerseys, all that stuff. They even can make you banners. Flambeau Outdoors for my tackle storage. Solabat sunglasses for eye protection. They have one thing a lot of people don't know. I used to sell sunglasses back in the day, and I know a lot about sunglasses. And the Solabat sunglasses, their lens quality is like top notch. And they're a company where you don't have to spend $300 on a good pair of sunglasses. So, I definitely try to look at those guys for sunglasses. Dilly Dilly Donuts is also one of my businesses that I have. Strike King, I already mentioned Lose, I believe. Wind Rider for my rain gear, and also Holt Media Solutions. They actually do my webpage for me, DaveArchibaldFishing.com.
Nice.
Outstanding.
So that's pretty much my lineup. And I've also been with Enigma Rods too. So nothing's changing going into to this new year here. So everything's pretty much the same.
Awesome. Is there anything anything else you'd like to say? We got a couple minutes here.
Yeah. Being a co-angler, it's challenging. Just if you put the work in, you can be successful. You have to have, it's all mindset, and be willing to do the work. You be willing, just, learn. And I know not every co-angler is here to learn. I mean, some co-anglers are better than boaters, that we just don't have the money to be on the boater side. And, make your approach, be aggressive with your approach, and if you are in those situations where you can help, don't be afraid to speak up either. It's like, yeah, you got to prepare for yourself, but if you can help your boater too, that will help you fish better on that day too. And it's like, you just don't get on a boat thinking that you're the guy who has to sit in the back and shut up. Because I know a lot of, I see it on Facebook. You sit in the back and shut up and do this. Like, no, it's not how I roll. It's like, I look at two people trying to accomplish the same goal. So let's work together, and I'll tell a boater, if I know a lake really well, I'm like, hey, if we get stuck on anything, I can help, being humble and all that stuff. Don't be a know-it-all, but just put in the work, be polite to your boaters, break the ice with them when you get in the boat with them, give them money for gas. That's the first thing you can do, and let them know you're not an idiot. Unless you're an idiot, then keep your mouth shut, but just, you're spending, not spending the amount of money that boaters are spending, but you're also investing time, especially if you're fishing a Toyota series or something like that. You're still forking out over $1,000 just to be in the tournament. Yeah. So, be there to do something, if you want to succeed and go further and, get in the boater side, if it's on the BFL, the Toyota series, or the ABA new pro series, there is very attractive for up and coming guys, or if you want to even shoot for the elites or the Bass Pro Tour, everything you do today will help you tomorrow, and fishing is not just on the water, it's off the water too. It's really maybe even more off the water than on the water if you're really going for it. And that's how I do it. I just, I'm a sponge. I'm not the best angler out there by far. I mean, I'm on the low end of I'm just trying to touch the bottom of the totem pole right now. The bottom, like I'm climbing up the hill to the bottom of it, and but we all can have our day, and as long as you're stay focused, stay mentally tough, in any sport or job, career, the ones that succeed are the guys. What was that?
Like I said, I gave Archibald fishing. Have a good night. Take care, everybody.
I appreciate you, Dave. Good show, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right, man. Good stuff.
All right. Have a good one.
All right, you too, buddy. Thank you.
Wow. That was a real good show.